Okay, so we're going to focus on building posture today. And what that means is that we're going to actually try to get your core to get a little more resilient in certain positions. So what we'll need for this routine is a balance object and a support object. So I'm using a large foam roller here, but you could also use a chair or a wall, and then a yoga block. And if you don't have a yoga block, you use like a small pillow, any object that you can hug. Okay. What we're going to start with is just some diaphragmatic breathing into our bellies. So what I'd like you to do is just come to a standing position with your feet nice and wide, and then bring your hands to your belly. We're going to take a deep breath in. I want you to really try to fill up your belly with as much air as possible. And then on the exhale, just let the breath go and feel free to sigh. Okay, we'll do 3 breaths. So let's go ahead, let's start together. Big breath in. And then exhale, just let it go. Feel free to sigh. Excellent. Let's do that again. Real big breath in. And then exhale, just let it go. Feel free to sigh. Good. One more time. Big breath in. And then exhale, letting it go. Perfect. So now we want to continue with that big belly breath in. But on the exhale, I want you to breathe out slowly. So it's a sustained exhale. We're going to try to coach these lower ribs to collapse in. We're trying to eliminate any rib cage flare that might be developing in our bodies. Okay, so breathe into your belly first, and then hands on your lower ribs, long exhale out, and try to coach those ribs to collapse in towards your spine. Good, we'll do that 2 more times. Big breath in, and then exhale, coaching these lower ribs to collapse in. Long breath out, and we'll do it just 1 more time. Big breath in, and then exhale, coaching those lower ribs to collapse in. Excellent. Good. So next, what I'd like you to do is practice making a long, sustained S sound as we breathe out. And what that's going to do, that's going to put some resistance in our mouth, so our transverse abdominis is going to get stronger, trying to really force out the S. Okay? So again, we'll breathe into the belly first. And then please keep your hands on your lower ribs as you make a nice long S sound out, and really try to make it the longest breath out that you possibly can. Good, we'll do that 2 more times. Big belly breath in. And then S sound out. Try to make that S sound as long as possible. And we'll do it 1 more time. Big breath into your belly. Nice long S sound out. Excellent. So we're going to continue with this breathing technique in 4 different positions, and that's going to help loosen up more of our core, more of our torso muscles. So what I'd like you to do is come to a forward fold. So just take your hands, slide them down your legs as you hinge your hips, and just let everything fold forward. If you can take your hands off your legs and hold on to your elbows just like so. And then in this forward folded position, what I'd like you to do is just slowly nod your head to help loosen up some tension that might be in your spine or in your shoulders. So we're just slowly nodding, yes. And we'll just do 1 more time here. Slow nod, yes. And then let's go ahead, slowly shake your head no. So looking left and right, nice and slowly. And we'll just do 1 more time, slowly turning your head left and right, and then bring your head back to center. Good, so then let's go ahead, let's take a deep breath into your belly, and then nice long breath out using that S sound. So big breath in, and then long breath out. Try to make the S sound as long as possible. And you might notice that your torso drops closer towards the floor. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Let's go ahead for our second breath. Again, big breath into your belly. Nice long S sound out. Try to make that S sound as long as possible. And then we'll just do it 1 more time. Big breath into your belly. Nice long S sound out.
Really try to squeeze all the breath out that you possibly can. Excellent. And then from here, we'll slowly roll up your spine. So just start to rotate your pelvis. And as you're rolling up your spine, just try to stack one vertebrae on top of each other, coming all the way up to standing. Excellent. So then we're going to go into spinal flexion. We're going to ask a little bit more of our bodies today. So I'd like you to come to a split stance or a stagger stance where one foot's behind. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you an option. You can have both hands on your lower back to support your lumbar spine, or you could take only one hand on your lower back and use the arm of the same side leg and reach up and back. So that we're going to open up this whole side of your body. Good. And then once we're here, breathe into your belly. Nice long S sound out. Good. We'll do that one more time. So big breath into your belly. And then nice long S sound out. Make that S sound as long as possible. Excellent. So then let's switch our feet, and then we'll switch our hands too, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay. So again, one foot goes back, same side hand goes up and back, and then we'll breathe into our belly. Nice long S sound out. Perfect. One more time. Big breath into your belly. And then exhale. The longest S sound that you can possibly make. Excellent. And then we'll come on out of that. So now what I'd like you to do is grab your object for support, because we're going to now do lateral flexion of the spine. We're going to also ask a little bit from the hip. So I'm going to take my right leg, I'm going to bring it behind me. I'm going to point the sole of my foot out that way, so that I'm actually opening up the whole side of my leg here. Then I'm going to take this arm, I'm going to reach up and over. Good, and then once I'm here, I'm going to start breathing into my belly and having that long S sound in. So breathe into your belly, and then nice long S sound out. Try to make it as long as possible. Good. Let's do it two more times. Big breath into your belly. Nice long S sound out. Good. One more time. Big breath into your belly. Nice long S sound out. Excellent. And then we'll slowly come out of that, and then we'll switch sides, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, we're just going to step the foot behind and across, point the sole of your foot out, and then we'll reach up and over. Good. Then go ahead, breathe into your belly. Nice long S sound out. Try to make it as long as possible. Good. We'll do that two more times. So big breath in. Exhale out. S sound as long as possible. And last time here. Big breath in. And let's see if we can make that S sound a little bit longer. Really try to squeeze it at the end. Excellent. And then come on out of that. Beautiful. Okay, so after that, hopefully you feel like a little bit more space through your torso. And then what we're going to do, we're going to focus on the toes, the ankles, and work up through our legs to help activate our base of support before we get more into what we're going to do about building the torso for some strength here in our posture. So what I'd like you to do is look at your toes and just try to lift only your big toe and lift it up as high as you can and then set it back down. So we're going to do 5 reps of just trying to lift the big toe up as high as possible and then set it back down. Try to keep the 4 outside toes flat on the ground. If they start moving with your big toe, it's okay, as long as you're trying to keep those 4 toes flat. Good. Let's just do 2 more here. Excellent. This last one, let's lift the big toe up and let's hold it for a slow 3 count. So holding and lifting the toe for 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. So now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to keep the big toe down and lift the 4 outside toes up the best that you can, and then set them back down. Good.
If you can, be strong and root the big toe down into the floor as you're lifting the 4 outside toes. Good. This time, let's lift the 4 outside toes up and let's hold them up. If you can spread those toes as you're holding, that's even better. Good. We'll hold it for a slow 3 count. So holding for 3, 2, 1, and relax. Great. So now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to lift all the toes up, and we're just going to take the big toe. We're going to try to press the big toe down into the floor and lift it back up. And we'll do this for 5 reps. So go ahead, press down. Try to get strong as you press down, and then lift up. Press down, lift up. 2 more times. And on this last one, let's press that big toe down. Keep pressing down. Try to get really strong through that big toe. And we'll hold it for a slow 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. So now let's do it where we press the 4 outside toes down. So lift all of your toes up. Try to keep your big toe up as you press the 4 outside toes down. As you're doing this, you might notice that your 4 outside toes want to curl. Try to keep them long and just press down. Just do the best that you can. If your toes don't cooperate, that's okay, as long as your intention is there. Good. So this time, let's go ahead, let's press those 4 outside toes down. Try to spread them and try to really get strong as you press them down. We'll hold them down for a slow 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. So then we'll have some fun with the toes. We'll try to wave them up one at a time and wave them down one at a time. So start with the big toe and try to lift one toe up off the ground one at a time, and then try to set them down one at a time. Okay? And again, as long as you're just trying to move them individually, you're doing the exercise. Okay? You can blame wearing shoes for your toes not cooperating. Good. Let's do it one more time this way. So waving up and then waving down. And then we'll switch directions. We'll start with the little toe and we'll wave them up and wave them down. Going from little toe to big toe, try and move each toe one at a time, just doing the best that we can. Good. Let's do one more wave here in each direction, waving up and waving down. Great. From there, let's then focus on the ankles. Let's roll to the outside edges of your foot, so that's ankle inversion, and then roll to the inside edge of your foot, and that's ankle eversion. Okay, as you're rolling in and out, try to be nice and slow so that you're controlling the transitional phase of the exercise. Good. And then also try to go as far as you can in each direction. It's okay if you're exaggerating the movement through your knees. Good. We're just going to do this 2 more times, trying to roll out as far as you can, and then try to roll in as far as you can. Perfect. Great. So then, if you have your object for support, let's then work into some heel lifts here. We're literally just going to try to lift the heel up off the ground. But more importantly, as we lift the heel up off the ground, what I'd like you to do is really feel how you're sending the weight into all 10 toes evenly. Okay? So nice and slowly lift your heel up and feel how that weight is now displaced into all 10 toes, or the balls of each of your toes. Excellent. Good. So let's do it a couple more times and just really try to get up as high as you can and then slowly come down. Perfect. Now as you're doing this, try that S sound and notice how your core and your feet work together. Okay? So 2 more times, S sound out. And just ask yourself, do you feel more stable when you feel that core is engaged as you're coming up onto the balls of your feet? Good. So then let's go ahead, let's add in the eversion and inversion to this exercise. So we're going to come up to the balls of our feet, and we're going to try to roll to the outside of your foot and then roll to the inside of your foot. Okay? So give yourself as much support as you need for this. And as long as that you're trying to roll to the outside and roll to the inside, you're doing the exercise. It doesn't have to be a big movement. We just want to have your foot be exposed to how the weight shifts from inside to outside, so that we're developing more stability of the foot and the ankle complex. Good. One more time here. Excellent. And then go ahead and come on back down to the floor. And then from here, we'll move up to our knees. We'll do our knee circles. We'll start with a wide stance here. And this is going to help include our ankles here. So we'll bring our hands to our knees and then just start to draw some circles here with your knees. And as you're drawing your circles, you'll notice that your feet are going to roll in and out. Exaggerate the foot roll here. Excellent. And that will lead to bigger knee circles. Good. Let's do one more in this direction. Good. And then let's change directions. Good. What I'd like you to do now is just try to go a little bit slower, a hair slower than what your body wants to go. And then also see if you can sit deeper with your hips. We'll do 2 more here. Excellent. Last one. Perfect. Then let's bring the feet together. And this is going to be different for our feet. We're going to try to keep the feet flat on the floor. In fact, I'd like you to think that you're tattooing the 4 corners of your feet into the floor. And then we'll start to do our knee circles here. Good. And if you could try to spread your toes here, feel how your toes really connect with the ground, and notice or see if you could get a bigger circle with your knees, the more that you can really feel the toes grounded or pressing into the floor. Good. Let's go one more in this direction. Excellent. And then change direction, go the other way. And let's see if we could slow our bodies down just a little bit. And let's also see if we can sit the hips down a little bit more. Okay, one more time here. Excellent. Okay, so then let's come back to standing and we'll focus on the pelvis here. So I want you to imagine that you're wearing a belt buckle, and let's turn that belt buckle up towards the sky and then down to the floor. So we're tilting the pelvis. So up and down, up and down. Belt buckle up, belt buckle down. Good. We'll just do 2 more. Feeling how your abdominals are doing a little bit of a crunch. Excellent. So then what I'd like you to do is take your hands and feel where your shoulders are in space. Try to keep your rib cage and your shoulders still as we send the hips from side to side. Good. If you have a mirror nearby and you can watch yourself, this is even better, so that you actually have really good feedback or understanding that your lumbar spine, your hips are doing the motion and not your shoulders. Good. We'll just do 2 more here. Excellent. Good. So then we also want to keep the shoulders still for the next exercise. So go back to that imaginary belt buckle and try to turn that belt buckle to the right and then to the left without moving the shoulders. So it's as if your body is literally being twisted like a twister in each direction. Good. And as you're doing this, feel the 10 toes again. And if you could feel the 10 toes, you'll notice how the legs are really helping to twist the pelvis here. Good. Let's do 1 more in each direction. Go as far as you can. And then the other way. Excellent. Okay, so then we're going to do some circles with the hips. And before we do that, let's map out the circle. So let's push your hips backwards as far as you can towards the wall behind you. And then stand up and then push your hips forward as far as you can to the wall in front of you. Again, send your hips back, back, back. And then stand up and then send your hips forward, forward, forward. Good. 1 more time. Back, back, back. And then forward, forward, forward. Perfect. Okay, so then from here, we're going to take the hips from side to side. So hands on your hips. So send the hips out to the side, send your shoulders the other way. And then stand up again and do the same process to the other side. Good. You might notice how you're going to be rolling to the outside edge of 1 foot. Exaggerate that if you can.
And also try to be tall through your spine as we are doing these side bends here. One more time each side. Perfect. So after all that, now let's connect those 4 positions and we'll make a nice big circle. So let's push the hips forward first and then slide them out to the side. Then reach the hips back as far as you can. Then slide the hips out to the other side. And then go ahead and bring the hips forward. Good. And then reverse, go the other way. So back to the side you just came from and then reaching back as far as you can, off to the other side and forward again. Good. So now as you're doing this, if you could feel all 10 toes really rooted into the floor, right, you're just going to bring more of your body into the exercise, and that's going to be really beneficial to your posture. Because if more of your body can help organize how you stand or how you position yourself or how you organize your posture, our bodies tend to find more efficiency that way. So really just feel the ground with your toes as we do this last circle in each direction. And if you could also make this circle with your hips as big as possible, that's even better. Good, let's bring it back the other way. Maybe add that S sound as you are circling your hips. Excellent, beautiful. Okay, so then we're gonna get into our torso now. And this is where having a yoga block is gonna really help. A yoga block or a small pillow. So we're gonna do some segmentation of our spine here. I'm gonna place this right over my heart and I'm gonna hug the yoga block into my heart. Then I'm going to find my belt buckle. I'm going to try to point my belt buckle up towards the ceiling. I want to keep my hips still here. Next, I'm simply going to fold forward and I'm trying to place my heart on top of the yoga block the best that I possibly can. And then I'll reverse it. I'll arch up and back and try to lift the yoga block up over my heart the best that I can. Good. Let's do that again. Fold forward. And maybe make an S sound as you're folding forward to help engage those inner core muscles. And then think about inhaling as you're arching and lifting that yoga block up over your heart. Good. One more time in each direction. Folding forward. Get your heart on top of that yoga block. And then reversing, lifting that yoga block up over your heart the best that you can. Good, and then let's come back to neutral. Beautiful. So now what I'd like you to do is take your feet really, really wide, because that's going to help keep your pelvis from moving on this next exercise, okay? We're simply going to take the yoga block and just rotate it to your right as far as you can. And then we'll come back to center. And then we'll rotate as far as we can to the left. Excellent, good. So now let's add that S sound on the exhale as we rotate and see if we get a little bit further. So rotate and S sound out. And then inhale back. And then the other way. Rotate, S sound out, and back. Perfect. One more addition to this technique. I want you to imagine that you are really tall. The top of your head is touching the ceiling. So you stay tall as you rotate. So rotate. If you can add the S sound, that's great. Go as far as you can, and then come back to center. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Rotate, adding the S sound, staying tall through your spine, rotating as far as possible, and coming back. Good. So now let's combine those two exercises. We're going to make a circle with this yoga block, okay? So belt buckle stays up the entire time. We're going to fold forward first, hearts on top of the yoga block. Then take the yoga block over to one side, and then slowly lift that yoga block up over your heart, and then take it over to the other side before you start to fold forward and place your heart on top of that yoga block again. Good, then once you're here at our starting position, change direction and go back to the same side you just came from before you start to lift that yoga block up over your heart again, and then take it over to the other side, and then fold forward again. Good. Let's try that again, and let's see if we could go just a little bit bigger of a circle with the yoga block. So rotating to one side, Then trying to lift that yoga block up over your heart, rotating over towards the other side, and then fold forward again. Good. And then from here, let's change direction. Let's go back the way we just came. Think about being nice and smooth here as you're moving through the circle. Good. One more time here. Now on this one, if you can remember how to stay long through your spine or tall through your spine, that's going to be really beneficial. It's going to set us up for some exercises that we're going to be doing later. So we're folding forward, we're feeling tall in our spine as we rotate to one side, lifting that yoga block up over our heart, rotating over to the other side, and then folding forward again. And that's where we'll change direction and we'll go back to the side we just came from. And then we'll slowly lift that yoga block up over your heart and then over to the other side and back down. Excellent, great. From there, we'll place that yoga block down on the floor and then we'll start to work into the shoulders and the neck here. Okay. So let's just bring the arms right by your side. And I just simply want you to shrug your shoulders up towards your ears like so. Really squeeze them up. Excellent. And then reverse it. Shrug the shoulders down. Reach your fingers for the floor. Good. We'll do this 2 more times. Shrug up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze at the top. And then go ahead and reverse it. Reach down. Really extend through those fingers and those arms. Good. One more time. Shrugging up, up, up. And then reversing, shrugging down, and reaching for the floor. Perfect. So then what we'll do is the opposite. We'll go forward and back in the shoulders. So shoulders coming forward into protraction. Really try to push those shoulders forward the best that you can. And then pull the shoulders back as far as you can. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Good. Let's do that 2 more times. Shoulders coming forward. Push them forward. Excellent. Squeeze those pectoral muscles and then reverse it. Pull the shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Okay, one more time. Shoulders forward, deep protraction the best that you can. And then reversing, squeezing the shoulder blades together, pulling the shoulders back. Excellent. Good. So then we're going to circle the shoulders, and if you could take your hands and press your hands into your thighs here, keep your elbows straight. If you do that, you're going to activate more of these shoulder girdle muscles underneath here, which are muscles that we don't use a lot throughout the course of the day, and they become underactive. So by pressing down, you start to activate these muscles here, and that leads to more control of your shoulders and thus more posture in the long run. So pressing the hands into your thighs, we're just going to circle the shoulders forward, up, back, and down. And once you come back to that starting position, change directions. So then pull the shoulders back, bring them up, forward, and then really reach for the ground. What I'd like you to do is really try to spend some extra time here where your hands are reaching for the ground, because we actually spend a lot of time throughout our day lifting the shoulders up. Okay. So we have 2 more circles each direction. So let's bring the shoulders forward again. Roll them up towards your ears, and then pull them backwards toward the wall behind you, and then reach those fingers for the floor. Good. This is where we'll change direction. We'll pull the shoulders backwards again. We'll lift the shoulders up towards your ears, roll the shoulders forward, and again, reach for the floor. Good. One more time in each direction. So reaching for the floor, and then bring the shoulders forward, up towards your ears, and then squeeze your shoulder blades together as you pull the shoulders back, and then reaching for the ground. Really reach for the ground here. And then we'll reverse. We'll pull the shoulders back again, and then we'll lift the shoulders up towards your ears. Push the shoulders forward and reach for the ground again. Excellent. Good. So with all that reaching for the ground, we've activated these muscles. We're going to use them even more as we then get into your neck. The first exercise for the neck is that we're just going to do some lateral flexions here. What I'd like you to do is imagine that each side of your neck is staying long the entire time. So we don't want to collapse one side. We want to keep it long, and that's just going to help keep
less compression on our vertebrae here, and it's also going to keep our neck muscles, which we use a lot, from tightening too much. So think both sides of your neck are long, and just take the top of your head over to one side of the room the best that you can. And then come back to center. And then let's do it to the other side. So again, both sides of the neck nice and long, top of the head over to one side of the room and back. Good. Now as we're doing this, really reach those hands to the ground, reaching the fingers to the ground as we take the head from side to side. So take the top of the head over to one side of the room, go as far as you can, and then come on back. And then to the other side. Keep reaching those fingers down to the floor. Good, let's do it one more time, and let's see if we can add that S sound on that long exhale. So reach the hands down to the ground, take the top of the head over to one side. See if the S sound helps you to get a little bit further. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Reaching down, S sound out, trying to go as far as possible. Perfect. Okay, so then let's push the head into protraction and retraction, similar to what we do with the shoulders. So you want to keep the arms by your side, or you could also cross over here so you know that your shoulders don't move. And then you're just going to push your head forward like you're trying to read something that's far away. And then pull the head back like you can't believe what you just read. Okay, so again, push the head forward as far as you can. Keep your torso still though. And then pull the head back. Good. One more time. Push the head forward. And then pull the head back. Great. So then we should actually keep your hands on your shoulders as we rotate the neck here. Okay. So get tall through your neck, right? Imagine that you're balancing a book on your head here. And just take your nose to one side, rotating as far as you can. And then coming back. And then to the other side, rotate as far as you can. And back. Good. So it's really important to stay tall and also to keep your shoulders still. Just allow your neck to figure out how far it can rotate today in each direction. Perfect. And then let's assist this rotation. Let's add the S sound and see if we can rotate a little bit further. So S sound out as you're rotating. And just see if you feel stronger or if you move further in that direction. And same thing on the other side. Excellent. Good. From that, let's now make circles with your neck, or more appropriately put, let's make circles with your nose. So take your arms, reach your hands towards the ground, right? You want to really activate these muscles here to keep your shoulders in place. And then let's take your nose down towards our heart, and then slowly take the nose over to one shoulder. And then we'll take that nose up towards the ceiling, and then over towards the other shoulder, and then back down towards our heart. Good, and then once we're back at that starting position, let's change direction. Let's go back to the shoulder we just came from. Then we'll slowly lift that nose up towards the ceiling, over towards the other side, and back down towards the heart. Good. On our second circles, let's try to be as long as possible through the neck. So just think about being tall, okay? So bring your nose down towards your heart, and then take the nose over to one shoulder. And as you're doing this, just try to feel as tall as possible. We'll lift that nose up towards the ceiling. Then we'll take the nose over towards the other side. And then back down towards your heart. Then we'll change direction. We'll go back the way we just came from. And then we'll lift that nose up towards the ceiling, over towards the other side, and back down towards your heart. Good. Last time around, let's try to use the S exhale, especially through any areas where you start to feel as if there's a little bit of limitation or restriction in your circle. So bring your nose down towards your heart. Feel free to start the S sound whenever you'd like. And we're just trying to make this circle smooth and big. Not trying to force anything. We're trying to see if this exhale and the activation of your inner core muscles can help organize or coordinate these neck circles a little bit better. Okay, and then once your nose comes to your heart, just go ahead and change directions, and then we'll bring the nose all the way back around. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to get into the exercises that are going to help build the posture, especially help build the strength for posture through our torso. So we're going to do some hip hinges here. We did these earlier before. We're just going to revisit them, and then we'll also progress them. So we're going to have the hands on the hips here. You're going to feel the ground with your toes the entire time. You're just going to send your hips back as far as you can and think about exhaling out as you hinge your hips, and then stand up again. Okay, we'll do this 2 more times. Hinge your hips back. It's like you're taking a bow and you really want to feel how that tailbone wants to touch the wall behind you, and then stand up. Good, and 1 more time. You're nice and tall through your spine as you're hinging your hips, and then standing up. Good. Okay, so now here's an option. Change positions with your arms. This is going to change the load on your back muscles and your hamstrings, your posterior chain. So if I place my hands on my shoulders, and I'll hip hinge again, exhaling out as I hip hinge, and then standing up. Good. Remember, you want to stay nice and tall through your spine the entire time. So I feel like I'm super tall as I hinge my hips, reach my tailbone back as far as I can, and then stand up. Good. 1 more time. Okay. Try to feel the ground with all 10 toes as you're hinging back, and then standing up. Great. So if you want to progress a little bit more, here's another option. Hands going to come behind your head like so. If you place your hands behind your head, what I want you to do is retract your head first. So remember, you're looking at something, and then pull your head back, then bring your hands here. You want to keep these neck muscles really strong the entire time. And then we'll go ahead and we'll hinge your hips, send your hips back as far as you can, and then stand up. Good. So then let's make sure that we're feeling the ground with all 10 toes as we hinge our hips, and then stand up. 1 more time. Think about feeling the ground, and then add that long S sound exhale as you hinge and as you stand. Great. And then we have another option here of reaching your arms towards the horizon as we hinge. Okay. And if you want to stick with any of the other options, feel free. We have just 3 more reps here. So I'm going to start with my hands by my side. As I hinge my hips, I'm just going to reach my arms for the horizon, trying to get my tailbone to work away from my fingers as far as possible, and then standing up. Okay, so 2 more times. Tailbone goes back, fingers go forward, trying to get as low as possible with my heart, and then standing up. Good. 1 more time. Nice and slow. So you want to control the movement here. Think about using that S sound to help support your spine, and then standing up. Excellent. Beautiful. Okay, so after that, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the hips and open up the groin a little bit with these lateral lunges. So go ahead, grab your support object, and then bring your feet nice and wide. Point your toes forward. We're simply just going to lower down into a lunge on one side, just like so. And then come back up. Good. And then same thing on the other side. Lowering down and coming back up. Good. So now you can also reach with the opposite hand. So I'm going to go to my right. I'm going to take my left hand. I'm going to reach across as far as I can. And then I'll stand up. Then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Reaching across as far as I can. And standing. Perfect. 1 more time each side. If you're reaching, really reach through the fingers. Excellent. And then we'll do the other side. And think about exhaling out as you're reaching too. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to go back to that hinge now. We're going to work into the shoulders right now. Okay. What we're going to do is we're simply just going to be reaching with the shoulders in the hinge position, and we'll stand up after each rep too so that we get a little reprieve. Okay, so I'll demonstrate first. So I'm going to hinge back. My hands are actually going to reach backwards first, and then my fingers are reaching for the ceiling as I reach for the horizon up overhead, and then I'll bring my arms back to that starting position and stand up again. Okay, excellent, good. What's really important as you're doing this, really think that your fingers want to try to touch the ceiling the entire time. And as you're doing this, this is where the S sound, the long exhale comes in, because if you can sustain the exhalation out, you're going to support your spine with your abdominals here. So let's go ahead, let's do 3 reps here. So hinge your hips, slowly reaching your arms towards the horizon, and then circling your arms back towards your back pockets, and then standing up again. Good, great, let's do that again. Okay, so send your hips back as far as you can. Fingers up towards the ceiling, circle your arms forward, nice and slowly. And then circle your arms backwards, nice and slowly. And then standing up. Good, one more time. Hinge your hips backwards, lift your fingers up towards the ceiling, and then start to circle forward. Think about using the S sound right here as you are reaching forward. And then keep reaching those fingers up towards the ceiling as you circle your hands back towards your pockets, and then standing up again. Perfect. Okay, let's grab our object for support again. So we're going to do these arc reaches with our foot, which helps to activate single leg stability, right? Or helps build single leg stability, which is actually really important for our posture. So what I'd like you to do is use your big toe and try to draw a nice big circle on the floor. Feel free to use as much support as you want in terms of the support object, because when we're doing this exercise, what's really important is that you feel relaxed. And that's how you're actually going to build a lot more balance and stability in the single leg, is if you're feeling relaxed. If you're thinking a lot about how to stabilize, you're actually you're interfering with what your inner ear can do for your balance. So you just want to be as relaxed as possible, give as much support as possible, then focus on trying to make the biggest circle that you can with your big toe. What's really important is that we're not trying to force anything. We're really just exploring and just moving. Good. Then after you're doing all that, and if you're feeling relaxed, then see what happens if you give or you take away a little bit support. Maybe see what it's like to lighten the pressure of your fingers on that support object, or maybe even take the entire hand off of it and see what happens. Okay, one more on each side. And again, what we're really doing here is we're trying to really activate all of this all of the muscles of your standing leg to help us prepare for our next exercise, which is going to be our final exercise. Okay, so now we have some side bend circles. What I'd like you to do is go ahead and grab that yoga block. So what we've done before is that we were doing our hip circles, like so. And actually, we'll start with our hands on our hips for this. We're going to do the hip circles again, but we're also going to take your spine, and we're going to fold forward, lean to the side, and also arch back. I'll demonstrate. It's going to look like this. So you want to fold forward and then start to circle your hips. You're going to notice how your body can just side bend. And then you want to arch back and then side bend to the other side and fold forward. Okay? I'll demonstrate again from this angle. So folding forward, then side bending, arching up and back, circling the hips at the same time. Okay? So go ahead, let's do this together. So we're going to start in that forward fold.
You want to just send your hips out to the side, let your shoulders and your torso go to the other side. Then send your hips forward and arch your spine backwards. Then we're sending the hips over to the other side bending the other direction, and then forward fold. Once you make one complete circle, change direction and go the other way. So send the hips out to the side as you side bend in the opposite direction. Then hips come forward as you're arching backwards. Then hips over to the side bending to the other side, and then hips backwards and forward fold. And then we'll slowly roll up. And this is where we can then grab the yoga block and work to the next progression, which is going to hold the yoga block towards your heart. The movement's the same, so we'll start with the hips backwards in that forward fold, and then just send the hips out to the side. Let your body side bend in the opposite direction, and then we're going to push the hips forward. We're going to arch up and back, and then send the hips over to the other side bend in the opposite direction, before pushing the hips back and folding towards the floor again. Once you're there, change direction, go back the other way. So hips go off to the side as you side bend in the opposite direction. Then hips come forward, lift that yoga block up, and then over to the other side, like so. Excellent. So then, our next options here are you can take the hands and just put them on top of your head like so. Or if you'd like to, you could also take your arms and try to reach the yoga block away from you the entire time. So I'll demonstrate what it looks like when you're reaching. It's going to be the biggest circle that you possibly can with the yoga block. Take it all the way around, like so. And what's really important is as you do this, is that you also want to just feel the ground with your feet the entire time. So it's a full body movement. And it's just not a core movement, okay? So whatever option you want to work on, let's just do 2 more circles in each direction. Try to be nice and smooth. Excellent, and feel the ground the entire time. Good. Then once you feel that you know the pattern really well, I'd like you to pay attention to your breathing. And just notice if you're holding your breath at any point in time, which is very natural, is what the body wants to do for support. If you notice that you're holding your breath, that's where I want you to then come back to the S sound. And see how that S sound might help you feel stronger and taller in that position. And then we'll just bring it back the other way, nice and slowly, smooth, like a well-trained ballerina. And then once you're in that forward fold position, we'll end it by slowly rolling up our spine 1 vertebrae at a time. And then hopefully all these muscles feel like they're activated, but they're also all working together. And that's what we're trying to do to help build our posture for today.